All right. So LeBron James is, I think, because many people have been fooled many times, now a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. So if you've been trying to pay attention to where he'll go, you'll know that there was like a legitimate social media cottage industry of just saying LeBron signed with a team and it not actually being true. So apparently the deal is a 2 year, $8 million deal, with a player option for the second year, which basically gives him, I think, a no trade clause. That obviously, if he opts in, he could be traded. But in terms of this season, it's a way to, you know, give him a no trade clause. I'll just start out here. LeBron is now on one of the best contracts in the entire league. He might be 41 or whatever. Well, yeah, he'll turn 42 this season, but for 4 million ish, might be a bit lower. We're talking about a guy who, I mean, his BPM last season in what's probably his worst season since his rookie season by BPM was 3.5. That's still like close to a top 25, maybe even top 25 player. And yeah, he's still really, really, really good. His ability to kind of stave off decline later in his career has been pretty impressive. He has, progressively gotten a bit worse. But yeah, LeBron is now on one of the best contracts in the league, like he's been for most of his career. Just because, like, when there's a max contract, you just like actually you can't pay one of the five best players in the league enough money, when you're capped at 25, 30, even 35% of the cap. They're just almost always worth significantly more. But I think the basketball fit in Philadelphia is going to be quite interesting because they obviously traded Paul George for Jalen Brown, which is a talent upgrade, I think, in most people's eyes. I don't think it's quite as large. But like I've been very vocal about how, like, I think Jalen Brown is super overrated, and I'm tired of getting gaslit by people being like, oh, the Celtics might be just as good in the regular season with Paul George as Jalen Brown, which is like maybe they're relatively similar players. It's like, but they're really going to suffer in the playoffs. Go look at Jalen Brown's on-off splits in the playoffs. They're bad. They're like always bad. It's the same thing as his regular season stuff. The advanced metrics and the on-off stuff is never as good with him. But anyways, so that's viewed as a talent upgrade. Perhaps I'm going to say probably it is a talent upgrade. It might be a slight production up. It's going to be a production upgrade. But Jalen Brown's not a good 3 point shooter. LeBron has had seasons where he's been pretty good from three, but he's coming off a season where he shot 31.7%. That's not good. And so that's two. Those are ostensibly your two wings, because I think LeBron is going to play power forward, his best position, especially defensively. Jalen Brown will play small forward. And let's go the three remaining Sixers from last season: Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe. Embiid, he shot 33.3%. He's never really been that good of a 3 point shooter. He is very good from the mid range, but once again, not a great 3 point shooter. VJ Edgecombe, 35.4%. He started the season pretty hot. So if I had to guess, if you could probably break it down seasons in half, he probably had, the last 40 games was probably closer to, 34%. That's still fine for a 20-year-old shooting guard who people had some concerns about his shooting. Like, he's 80% from the free throw line. Maybe he'll become a good 3 point shooter. And then Maxey, who 36.7%, the only one that's above league average, and he was taking 8.6 per game. So like he's like a legit good 3 point shooter, but he's also like your point guard. So he's the guy that you want benefiting a lot from the spacing also because he's just handling the ball, or he should be handling the ball more. And that kind of gets to the next question is like, how the fuck are you going to keep, like, look, I think when people see, oh, this is going to be their starting lineup, how, like, there's only one ball. I've always felt like that's a really stupid, generally a really stupid thing to bring up, simply because there's 48 minutes and these guys are going to be playing 32 minutes, and in Embiid's case, probably less than 30 minutes. LeBron's case, probably less than 30 minutes, right? So, like, there's plenty of opportunity for these guys to be on the court with only one other of the guys, none of the guys, right? So, like, they all are going to have their opportunities to handle the ball. But when all those guys are on the court, it is just going to be weird. Like, they are going to have to figure out a way to, like, do something better than your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Now, granted, they're talented enough that maybe that works, but like with the spacing, um, and all that stuff, it could. I look, let me put it this way: I would be willing to bet that, like, it doesn't look great to start, and if it ever looks great, it's probably going to be closer to the second half, right? If it does work. So So that's just like a concern. And especially when it comes to like crunch time offense. I think as it pertains to like over the course of a game, they're not all going to be on the court. It's going to be generally pretty good, pretty solid. But you know, I also got Anthony Simons, who's like, you bring him in because, hey, he's good on the ball. Um, so yeah, this team is also now, like, I hate to say it, like, very, very, like they're all in. And I think it's really fucking funny that Daryl Morey gets fired, and then the Sixers literally have the most Daryl Morey offseason in the history of the world. Like, like, how can we get 2 stars? And they do it. But yeah, let's see. In terms of like how good they're gonna be, like, their best player is still, when healthy, Joel Embiid. But when healthy is incredibly fleeting. And even when he is able to play, he's not always actually healthy and playing at peak capacity. And I just don't really know if he has that in him. And so this is a team that's got a lot of good players, but they have a great player for maybe 20 games a season. And then, like, including playoffs, I'd say, like, Embiid, like, looks great for 5 games in a playoff run. You win your first round series, you lose your next one. And so, like, out of the 13, 14 games that he's playing, he's giving you 5 really, really good ones. And, like, you know, that, like, the Sixers are basically trying to figure out, how can we win when our most important player just, like, is the least reliable player on our team in terms of health, and maintaining, like, a standard of production that, like, makes it, like, allows us to, like, really succeed at a high level. LeBron is just not that player anymore. And Maxi is, like, he's kind of gotten close to that. He can do it for spells, but he's just not at that level. He's a really good player. Maybe he can take another step forward. I mean, hopefully, like, for him, it would really be more like, can he take another step forward as a playmaker? I mean, I guess he could become an even better shot maker, better finisher, better 3-point shooter. Like, those things are on the table, but being like, hey, you go from top 15 player to top 5 player is like, that's like a big jump, and most guys just never really make it, because there can only be 5, right? So that's kind of where the Sixers are at now. Like, Jaylen Brown is a good player. I think he's, maybe he's probably like a top 45 player, who's just, like, just so happens to be good at the things that, like, make it look like he's a lot better. And VJ Edgecombe, he's super young. People are really excited about him. Once again, like, I don't know, like, maybe he really takes a step forward in year 2, and this is just one of the most balanced 5-man rotations, and it just, like, it kicks ass. So yeah, this it helps the Sixers a lot getting LeBron. Like, I don't want to poo poo the Sixers. I think they are a theoretical contender right now. And I want to say theoretical just on account of like, look, like LeBron's been great, but he's also turning 42 this year. If he just doesn't have it anymore, like I'm not gonna be upset, right? Like it's just time is undefeated, and he's been able to gradually decline throughout his career. But you just reach a point. He might just reach a point physically where he'll be an average-ish player. So there's that risk always exists. There's the Embiid question. There's also the like, hey man, like Jalen Brown's been on the Celtics who have surrounded him with incredible coaching and incredible talent, and now he's not there. And we're going to find out if the advanced analytics that we're always like, yeah, this guy's just not as good as everyone thinks, are true. And I'm willing to bet that they are because it's they don't just he has the ball enough that they're just not going to fucking miss, right? Like it's the guys who like don't have the ball a ton that they can miss on, right? And the guys that have the ball a lot, they're almost always right about them because there's a lot of data. And the more data they have, the more accurate they are. So if they're just constantly saying, hey, like this guy's not as good as you think, you should probably listen to him, especially when they're all almost universally in agreement. Maybe not like the exact ranking, but like that he's lower. So that is a concern. And so really this team, once again, it's like the Sixers go back to like this team is basically hinges on Tyrese Maxey and to a lesser degree VJ Edgecombe, and like that's the future. And so this is like an interesting little, I think, 2-year run that they're trying to put together with LeBron, Brown, and Embiid. They're more veteran, obviously. LeBron, very veteran, and just kind of see if they can't, push forward. And if it doesn't work out, I think they're just setting themselves up to then like reorganize around Maxi. But like once again, the whole I think this makes sense because I think people forget that guys get old fast, right? You're a young player and then you become 25 and you're still a young player and then you turn 27 and you're old. Guys get old quick and the decline comes, and so the Sixers are going for it. I think they should. I think they have a really good team, and there's three big question marks that are incredibly important that they're just going to need to answer. And one of them is the biggest question mark in the league the past few seasons. It's just like, is Joel Embiid going to be able to stay healthy and also at this point like be as productive? Like I think his world beating days are over, at least on a consistent basis, right? Like I think he'll always be able to muster games where you're just like, wow. But the pretty much every night that he plays, you're like, wow, this is like one of the three best players in the world. I still don't know if that's still there. Probably not. Usually, if guys lose it due to injury, it just doesn't come. It just doesn't come back, which is sad. Can how much more time can LeBron stave off? Like that's always just at a guy this age. That's it. And also, is Jalen Brown actually as good as he thinks he is? He's not. I mean, because he thinks he's the best two-way player in the league, and the Celtics were always way better on defense without him. So yeah, Sixers are going to be really good. I'm not willing to like really say that they're like a step ahead of anyone in the East until we kind of just see what it looks like. I know this is kind of a cop out, but this 5-man unit doesn't make a ton of sense together outside of they all play different positions, right? They outside of that, there's not that overwhelming synergy where you're like, oh, of course this is going to be really, really, really special. So we'll have to see, and we'll have to see with the health, and but good for them. Good for them for firing Daryl